G'day. Massive spoilers for Clair Obscur Expedition 33 will follow, so I'd advise playing the game first, or at the very least, if you don't intend on playing it, watch the cutscenes on YouTube. It's a really brilliant story to watch unfold. Finishing this game made me really want to sit down and just write something about it and talk about it. There's so much to chew on after the credits roll, so many small details and foreshadowing that really shows when you do a second playthrough, and I found that the game exuded a large amount of inspiration for me. There are two things that stuck out enough for me to want to ramble a little. One is the personal connection I ended up having with the ending of the game. The other is the natural dialogue and how human the characters are. They all have their joys, their disagreements, their own viewpoints, but most of all, their flaws are just as front and center as any other trait. Those flaws help turn any character into more than a trope or a simple archetype. I think Clair Obscur is going to be remembered for decades. The characters especially, because of how much care and thought was put into the writing. We watch characters with deep flaws make choices they think are right, but not necessarily just. Renoir wants to erase the canvas that gave life to the Gestrels, Esquier and Monoko, in the hopes of forcing his wife, Aileen, to move on following the death of their son, Verso. He's the closest we get to having a straightforward villain alongside his daughter Claire, who enslaves her painted copy and forces her to create the enemies of this world, the Neverons. Renoir's actions, though cruel, make sense from his perspective. He's even understanding that he's trying to erase a world of real people with genuine thoughts and feelings, as shown when he listens to the words of Lune and Ciel and admits that they're telling the truth, acknowledging the value of their own lived experiences and thoughts instead of just dismissing them as feeble creations.
Grief often blinds us, and we make choices we can never take back.
You grieve for two.
I grieve for many.
The choices of parents leave indelible marks upon their children. But ultimately, the voices in their head have to be their own. You cannot set the boundaries of their life for them.
Your friends speak truth, and it changes nothing.
But he knows he'll lose his wife to the canvas and eventually his daughter. Despite letting Maëlle stay in the end of the game, he does so with the faintest of hope that she'll leave the canvas and be with her family again. The world of Lumiere is nothing to his own world, his family. He even says this line with pain.
Do you really think that I want to destroy this last piece of his soul?
Don't.
Life keeps forcing cruel choices.
Recognizing that this is not a just action to take, but one he must. Aileen only seeks to lose herself in Verso's canvas and paints a copy of the family to be whole again. Despite being able to paint a picture-perfect family though, she still creates a copy of Alicia with her scars. In her grief, she still holds blame for Alicia needing to be rescued by her brother. The full erasure will come eventually, but she wants the world to exist for as long as possible. So while her power wanes and Renoir overcomes her, she tries to slow the process down, hence the Gushing that we see. Verso is a man tormented by two minds due to being his own person with his own thoughts, but also holds the memories of the real Verso. He's desperate to save his mum from her own undoing, but also wishes to be erased, to no longer have this life. He thinks Maëlle needs to leave the canvas and process her grief properly, and knows this would lead to the canvas being fully erased, but he struggles to process the painted copy of his sister being erased herself. Some of the beauty of the writing really shows during the scene of Verso and Maëlle after Alicia's erasure. Maëlle points out that Verso is guaranteeing the same thing would happen by releasing Aileen from the canvas, yet he insists it's different. He doesn't explain why it's different, and that's what makes it work so well. Emotions are complex. humans can hold contradictory thoughts, we sometimes struggle to explain or even understand our feelings on a matter, and there are times where we are blinded by something right in front of us for no reason other than our own hubris. I imagine Verso is meant to be feeling a myriad of emotions like sadness for having to continue existing without painted Alicia, anger at how Mael doesn't consider his feelings at all during the process, and a great sense of tiredness. Each step heavier than the last as others are laid to rest before him. His tiredness is seen clearly during moments like when Mael reunites with her dad in Act 3 and the canvas is starting to be erased along with Verso. There's no fear or desperation. He simply looks down at himself as it's happening and just accepts it. Standing with the expedition to fight Renoir at the very end seems painful for him. He wants oblivion but also stands with the expedition. I think it's part of the fact he's two people and is constantly struggling with having to have these somewhat opposing viewpoints. A Verso who wants to adventure with his friends, and a Verso that knows the truth of his existence and wants to rest forever. Mael eventually takes on the burden of two lives lived as well. By the start of Act 3, she's had her original memories returned. She is now simultaneously a teenage girl who was disfigured in a fire, where her brother gave his life to save her, and a teenage girl who had to lose her second brother in Gustav, and is now hoping for a second chance with painted Verso. Because of her injuries outside of the canvas and the guilt and hurt she carries, she doesn't see much of a life for herself compared to the freedom she would have in the canvas and the possibility of having a life with both of her brothers. Eventually we are confronted with two choices to end the game, and neither results in feelings of happiness. In Mael's ending, she gets her wish to live out her life in Lumiere, repaints Verso with the ability to now grow old and die naturally, I assume, and repaints Gustav, Sophie, and Ciel's husband, Pierre. As pointed out in a comment I saw on this ending, she seems to lack the ability to properly paint over a canvas though, and give it the same life Verso could. Many of the people in the background look to be copy-pasted. Faces and personalities are never shown, you just get the same model scattered throughout. For her it likely doesn't matter. She has the core family she wanted to live with, even though it'll lead to her death from prolonged exposure in the canvas. It's probably something she's content with, but the canvas will still be gone in the end. I don't see an outcome where the family loses another relative, but leaves the canvas untouched. Maybe keeping the few people she cares most for in this fake fairy tale paradise is more cruel than letting them go. Verso's ending shows us the erasure of the canvas, where he can finally rest for good. Although Clair sees the canvas world as not real and the people in them as just playthings, we have seen the complicated personalities and histories of Lumiere's populace. Alicia can maybe find a way to move on, as well as her family, but it comes at the cost of a world full of friends and family she wasn't ready to say goodbye to. When I completed the game for the first time, I was pretty firm on Verso's ending being the, well, there's no good ending, I guess the least bad ending, the one I could more easily relate to. That was due to my granddad. About 7 or 8 years ago, once his quality of life became non-existent due to being wheelchair bound, having no vision in one eye and only 20% vision in the other, debilitating arthritis in his arms and a lot of other things, he wanted to be taken to Belgium or Sweden maybe, wherever they do it, to be euthanized. But my nan couldn't take him, and if she could, I don't think she would have. Watching Verso want to finally rest sat with me as someone who is fully supportive of euthanasia. Begging to be unpainted and not only being denied that, but be actively repainted in Mael's ending, it just seemed too cruel. I love the writing for allowing me to have that kind of connection. When my granddad died about a month or so after having finished the game, I was even more on the side of Verso's ending. He was finally at peace. When painted Alicia is gommaged, she asks to be sent to her family. There's nothing to suggest this, but maybe the life created in these canvases passes on to some sort of afterlife, and Alicia either knew where she was going or was just hopeful that she'd see them again. Having that real life loss makes me wish for the same. I can't comprehend the memories we make or the lessons we learn just dissipating into nothing when you as a person don't come from nothing. Probably my favourite interpretation is Gandalf in Return of the King, telling Pippin that once all is said and done, you're met with white shores and a far green country under a swift sunrise. It's a comforting image, and it makes me think about my granddad's home country of England and its rolling hills in the countryside. So while the world is erased, maybe there's a place that has received these characters where they get to be at peace together. I think it's excellent that so many different viewpoints can be discussed with this game's story and how it connects to people in different ways, leading to many interesting back and forths. I'm sure this game will be a massive influence for many creative people, and I can't wait to see what comes from that. I could waffle on more and gush over the visuals, the top tier soundtrack and more, but I'll leave it there. I didn't even get into Clair's story, who has a lot of interesting aspects about her. Despite not being physically present for long in the story, she has quite the impact and has a lot of details to get into. Until the next video, have a good one.